was fun playing for my dad, but it was one of those things, like looking back, I'm like really thankful for it just because he kind of pushed me a lot harder than probably another coach would. You know, he'd get on to me, he knew exactly kind of what buttons to push and what made me tick and stuff like that. So looking back, I'm so thankful for it, you know, the fact that he was there and he, you know, he kind of molded me in the early years of my career. In high school, my brother and I were close, but like where we really became really close was college. We spent so much time together, being older and a little bit more mature and kind of understanding that relationship and how special that opportunity was for us to both be able to play on the same team. That's really where we kind of grew that bond, I guess. I honestly had no intention of staying in state to go to college. Being in Norman all the time and going down to his games and going to hang out with him. When Coach Capel got hired at OU, I was just kind of like sold. That year, when I was hurt, it was probably the hardest time for me because I was so excited and had so much, you know, to look forward to about being drafted and all this, and then to literally not be able to play one regular season game. Rehab for like 2.5 months, and I thought I'd be able to come back after that. I find out I had to have surgery, so I have surgery in mid-January, and like I never got to go on one road trip. You know, all I did was go to rehab, go to practice, and go to the home games. You know, it definitely held me back as far as my development as a basketball player, but at the same time, I kind of just took the approach of making the best out of whatever situation I was in. So kind of tried to use it as a learning experience. And I'd like to think it made me a better player, but at the same time, you never know, because sitting out a year and not being able to really work on my game was tough. When I was sitting there on the bench for all those home games, and that was the toughest part, was watching the games. It definitely makes you realize that you can't take this for granted, because like one quick movement and like it can all be taken away from you. Not being able to play for a year was like one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, just because that's all I knew and that's all I did. You know, I never was hurt for an extended period of time like that. Having all the excitement and like anticipation of finally making it to the NBA and kind of having to sit back and wait a year was unreal. So yeah, now it gives me a greater appreciation. You know, I heard all the things when I first got hurt. You know, I heard all the things about how I was going to be a bust, and like, you know, they wasted another draft pick. Like, it almost scared me into like really focusing and not just going through rehab, but understanding why I do everything, and then also understanding my body and how everything works. And you know, the biggest thing I think I took away from all that was like the recovery aspect, and how even if you work out as hard as you possibly can, if you don't recover, then it really does nothing for you. So yeah, I mean, it kind of put me in a mindset of, you know, trying to get ahead of the game as far as, you know, working out, recovery, all that stuff. It's definitely going to hopefully preserve our careers and, you know, help us be able to play longer. From college to, you know, getting drafted by the Clippers, you know, I thought people knew who I was a little bit, but after we played the Knicks, I remember it just like being like on a totally different level. And then from then on, just like as the year went on, after, you know, the All-Star selection came out, after All-Star weekend, you know, after Rookie of the Year, all that, it just the best way I can describe it is I went from like cruising to like 100 miles per hour, and it just like hasn't stopped yet. I felt like I could kind of handle it. I wasn't prepared for it never slowing down again.